Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be ranking multiple versions of Windows, the consumer versions from Windows 1.0 to Windows 11. Now this tier list is going to be quite biased as you may expect, so if you have any opinion feel free to put it in the comments and I will take a look. Alright, now let's get started. Windows 1.0. See, this was pretty revolutionary because, oh my bad. This was pretty revolutionary because it introduced a shell for MS-DOS. Because if you didn't know, Windows, up until Windows XP, the first consumer version of Windows built on NT kernel was Windows XP. But before that, it was all based on MS-DOS, basically. So, and this was the first version of Windows to have like a GUI, like a graphical user interface. So I would say this is pretty revolutionary. Nothing crazy at the time. It wasn't even that like special. People considered it to be. So I'll put it in like maybe C tier. I think that's good. And then we got Windows 2.0. Now Windows 2.0, there wasn't much of a noticeable improvements. I think there were a couple, but I completely forgot because they're basically almost the same. I'll just put it C tier as well. Why not? It wasn't much improvement. Now Windows 3.1, there was a version 3.0, but I didn't put it on the tier list because Windows 3.0 and 3.1 are very similar, plus people would probably know 3.1 better. Anyway, 3.1 was pretty revolutionary too. Maybe not revolutionary, but it introduced something pretty good. Pretty nice. It was called the Program Manager, and it was an even better version of the MS-DOS Executive, which is what Windows 1 and 2 used. Actually, Windows 3.0 introduced the Program Manager, but Windows 3.1, well, we just got it here, so yeah. Anyway, we'll put Windows 3.1 in B tier. It was pretty solid. And now, we got Windows 95, which is, everyone knows Windows 95, let's be honest. One of the most revolutionary OSs ever because it set the foundation for what future operating systems would be, what the layout would be. So I'm gonna put Windows 95 in A tier, though it did have a couple bugs. It wasn't the best, but it was very good. It was very solid. Now we have Windows NT. I know I would say consumer versions, but Windows NT, I don't know. I felt like I had to include it. I guess we'll just put Windows NT. It's basically the same as 95, but NT kernel. I'll just put it in B tier. For businesses, this is what you would use. For consumers, you would use Windows 95. Now we have Windows 98. Windows 98 introduced many internet-reliant capabilities. It had features that relied on the internet. It introduced MSN, I believe. I might be wrong, but I think it introduced MSN. And I believe Windows 98 also introduced Windows Update, which, if you know, in modern Windows is pretty important and can be annoying. But I think I'm going to put Windows 95 in 95. I meant 98. Windows 98 in B tier. And now we have Windows 2000. Windows 2000 was actually how do I say this? Windows 2000 was very solid. People consider it one of the best of all time. I personally would consider it somewhere between A and B. I'll put it maybe a little behind. Oh, actually, I'll put it the high B tier. How about that? And now we have Windows ME. Windows ME was very, how do I say this? Very buggy and broken. There were many crashes due to drivers and such, and it actually was pretty good in the beginning. People liked it a lot, and then they started to grow to hate it. So I would probably put it in C tier. It was basically the same as Windows 2000. People actually use Windows 2000 over ME, so actually I'll just put it in D tier. It was kind of not that great, but I won't put it in F tier because it was introduced a couple good features that we still use in modern Windows. For example, it actually introduced System Restore, which if you've ever gotten malware on your computer, you might really like, and it's also a very good feature, so I'll actually put it in C tier, why not? And now we have Windows XP. Everyone knows Windows XP. All those startup sound memes, shutdown memes, error sound memes. You know Windows XP. Very solid, but it wasn't S tier. You know why? Because people actually disliked XP in the beginning due to its Fisher-Price look, as some would call it. But Windows XP was very good. I won't put it S tier. I'm not going to be that biased, but I'll put it high A tier. It was very good. And now we got Windows Vista. Now I got a lot to say about Windows Vista. Windows Vista was overhated. I'll be honest, in the beginning it was very buggy and it crashed a lot. Kind of had the same fate as ME if you think about it. But Windows Vista was very solid when Service Pack 1 came out and then Service Pack 2 came out. It was very good once the Service Packs came out and all the bugs got fixed. So I will honestly I'll put it in high A. I don't think I would put it in S tier. That would be too biased of me. And also, Windows Vista was the first operating system I used, and then Windows XP was second, Windows 7 was third. So yeah, very solid operating system once you had all the proper bug fixes. And it also introduced something very cool called Windows Dream Scene and Windows Ultimate Extras. Sadly, those are only in Vista and not Windows 7, but Windows Vista was very good. And now we have Windows 7. Everyone loves Windows 7, kind of like Windows XP. I will put Windows 7 in a lower A tier, but it's definitely better than B tier. I put it here because Windows 7 was just a polished Windows Vista. You could think of it like this. Windows Vista walked, so Windows 7 could run. Without Windows Vista, you wouldn't have Windows 7. And I really don't understand how people love Windows 7 but then hate Vista without even really knowing much about Vista because they never really used it. And I completely messed this up. There you go. So yeah, I'll put it Windows 7 in A tier. And now we got Windows 8. Now Windows 8. Sorry for that mic thing. Anyway, Windows 8 in the beginning, very, how do I say this? It was very bad. The Microsoft completely redesigned the start menu, and it was just, it was kind of a disaster, but it wasn't terrible. No operating system is really that bad once you get to know it and you get to consider the features it introduced, the significance it had, if it had any. So yeah, I'll honestly put Windows 8 in C tier. It wasn't, it's definitely not A tier. Definitely not B tier. Actually, it could be B tier because if we're considering Windows 8.1, I would honestly put it B tier. Windows 8 itself, C tier. 8.1, B tier. So, I'll put it high C. Why not? High C tier. It would, I think it's a good spot for it. And now we have Windows 10. Windows 10 is, I believe, 70% of Windows market share, if I'm not wrong. Very solid. I use Windows 10 for a few years. I grew to love it. I use Windows 11 now, but Windows 7 was very solid, and I like it a lot. I said Windows 7 again. I meant Windows 10, my bad. So, I'll put Windows 10 in A tier. Put it right. I think it deserves to go ahead of Vista by a lot. And now we have Windows 11, the latest release of Windows. Windows 11, in the beginning, it has, let's just say Windows 11 has very high minimal specs. You basically can't run Windows 11 on a PC that's older than 2017 because the CPU has to have certain instructions like TPM 2.0 and stuff like that. I honestly don't think it was necessary to have such high requirements for Windows 11. It was just a very polished Windows 10. But Windows 11 was pretty good. I don't think it was that bad. I currently use it, as you can see from my taskbar. You can see I use Windows 11. I like it. Would I switch back to 10? No, because Windows 10 is ending support in a year and a half, and it wouldn't really be worth it to switch just for like a year and a half. So, therefore, I'm actually going to put Windows 11 in a low A tier. And that wraps it up for the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to support me by, subscribing, leaving a like. If you want, I'm not going to force you to do it. And yeah, I think that wraps up the video. Goodbye, see you in the next one.